Hello, YouTube, and this is the part YouTube see before I get to the editing. That's if it's actually gone live, which it should have done because it says we're live. And we are, yeah. All right, let's do it.
Oh, wow. Wow, Bournemouth have scored against Arsenal.
I was going to have it on above me up there, but
oh my God, wow. Wow.
The artistic director's in the house. I got no legs. So Adam, who's he does all of the artwork now, and like he's doing all the banners and artwork for the pod as well. So I've called him my artistical director.
Well, what a start to the podcast, guys. What a start.
Madness.
You know.
Right, let's kick it off proper. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Talk Football Podcast. This is season 5, episode 3, and we haven't had him on for ages. And I put a message out yesterday, hoping that someone would respond. And it couldn't really be better to do a Chelsea one and have Dylan back on the show. Welcome back to the pod, mate.
Hello, guys. Good to be back.
Yes, so it's been a while. I mean, it's got to be when did we have you on? Was it about a year? It's got to be about a year, isn't it? Or maybe a bit longer.
I think it was the Palace away game, wasn't it? I think when we last spoke. Yeah, I think it was February early this year, something like that.
It could be.
Yeah.
I tell you, well, a lot's happened. a lot's happened. A lot's happened to our club.
Yeah.
But there's so much we could go over, so much we could talk about, and the ownership and managers and that. But I think predominantly we'll talk about the here and now because it's going well. At the moment, we've made a really good start to the season. I think we probably surprised quite a few people. Bearing in mind, the ins and outs with the squad, etc. Bit of a laughing stock to the rest of the league, but I don't think they're laughing so much now.
No, certainly not. What a crazy transition we've had at the start. Well, from where we was last season to the start of this season, we're 7 games in. We're sitting in the top. Well, it was top 4 till today, depending on our result tomorrow. But we've had a very good start. Apart from obviously starting off with Man City, that's probably one of the worst teams you could start the season off, possibly.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that fixture's now out of the way. We just got to focus on the away game, and that comes up, I think, in January or something like that. Yeah. But to be fair, we've not come up against a really challenging team apart from Man City. So this is probably our first game tomorrow where we're going to be really tested on how decent we actually are. So
yeah, we got some tough games coming up, and obviously with the Liverpool game that we're predominantly speaking about tomorrow, we've got a double header with Newcastle coming up, a tough trip away to Greece for a Conference League game. So yeah, we've got some tough games coming up. But it'd be interesting to see, tomorrow. I mean, obviously touching on the game tomorrow, we're without Fofana and Cucurella obviously suspended, so. I don't know what we do, where we go at the back with that. Obviously, Cole will, you'd imagine, and I'm hoping he doesn't partner in with Disasi. I'm hoping it's possibly Tosin that comes in there.
I'd assume it'd probably be Tosin.
I would think
centre
so.
Back, and then I probably think Vega might play left back tomorrow.
That would be the sensible and probably like the most obvious thing.
Yeah.
But I want to throw something at you, bearing in mind that Reece is back. So part obviously with the team news, you got Reece back who's been in full training this week. I think Lavia's back fully fit as well. So I think it literally is Fofana and Cucurella are the only 2 not available for selection.
Yeah.
Could we look at a potential curveball with the Liverpool game and maybe try and outnumber them in midfield by going 3 at the back?
Well, I think Maresca got interviewed yesterday or something like that. He's saying that he's he actually got asked what his favorite game was, and believe it or not, he said it was Man City because it was the only time this season where he's actually been able to use that pivot 3 this season.
Yeah.
So I ideally would like to think that because he said that, he probably might reintroduce it tomorrow in a massive game like that against Liverpool. So, and to be
certainly, I
fair,
think
it's
Vega could certainly fill that left-sided slot, because obviously he could then transition into the middle, and then obviously Gusto as the wide right slot, and then potentially maybe bring Reece, an easier game to bring Reece back in as part of a back three. That could be, because you don't want to bring him straight back in and then get injured again.
No. Well, my thought is with the midfield though, is because obviously Liverpool were very interested in Lavia and Enzo and all of that, like
Caicedo
last summer, and Caicedo. Literally, our middle three, they were interested in all of them, and we got all three of them. So, is this a bit of a redemption for us in that sense? Because obviously they beat us in the Carabao Cup final last season. We didn't exactly get rejoice from that sort of thing. To be fair, we suffered heavily with injuries as well last season, so we didn't actually get to see like the proper prospect of Poch playing with a full
deck of cards.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the first time in what feels like 3 years that we've actually now got a fully fit squad going into a match week. Like the blessing of that, it feels amazing as a Chelsea fan to be like, we've now got a full squad, literally a choice of everyone available. Like
really unlock the potential of these young players.
Exactly, yeah. So it makes you feel like, okay, we might go in with some confidence tomorrow, knowing we've got a full squad. Like we've got depth on the bench to actually compete against a team like Liverpool. So
yeah, I mean, the weird thing looking at it is that both teams this season have been better away from home than they have been at home. We have dropped points, but if we win against them tomorrow, that's our fourth away win, which is, I think the last time in my notes, the last time we did that was the 05-06 and 08-09, and that would make Maresca only the fifth manager to win his first 4 away games, which would be an incredible thing. But Liverpool have suffered a little bit at Anfield as well, which does leave me with hope on the road and a little bit less pressure, probably more pressure on them, given they're at the top of the league, and they want to continue that form. But I do think offensively, I do think we can get at them and we can really, really worry them. I do believe Van Dijk is, particularly with the pace we have in midfield. I think that there's, with Jackson stretching in behind, possibly Noni on the right. Could really put some
this
pressure
is a
on.
question I actually had for you, Hodgie, because there's been a lot of talk based on the season so far. I'm actually interested to know your opinion on this. Is that who do you start as the number 9 tomorrow? It's
Jackson.
either Nkunku or Jackson.
Yeah, but I start Jackson because I personally feel that Jackson from the start will stretch the team, because he'll make those runs in behind. And I believe later on, in the game when we do bring Nkunku on, 1 if we need to chase a goal, or 2 if we need to consolidate. He's brilliant at that, coming in late and with his movement and whatnot. Yeah, I do think we need to pin their defense initially, and that's why I would start Jackson. I know he comes in for a lot of criticism. I know he does miss a lot of chances, but you cannot question the work rate, the positioning, the runs. He's a nightmare for defenders because and he drives with the ball. I mean, he will drop deep and pick the ball up in central areas off the midfield and then drive out of defence. And Kunku don't really do that. I mean, he's more of that false 9 sort of forward, if you like, who will come and link play, but not necessarily threatening behind.
Yeah,
which is up. If you've got obviously either Neto one side or Sancho or whatever, and Noni or Palmer, whoever starts out on the right or in the 10. And you've got those runners around in Kunku, it's not necessarily a problem. But I think initially, you need to threaten him behind, particularly with Liverpool. They do tend to like playing quite a high line, historically under Klopp anyway. I'm not too sure, how defensively they'll set up or how deep they'll set up under slot. I've not really seen too many of their games, but
I've not myself either, to be honest.
But they've got a couple of injury worries themselves anyway. So Tsimikas, McAllister, a little fitness doubts, and that Endo, I believe, will be out as well. So I'm not sure if Robertson's completely fully fit. So, in wide areas, I think we can get at them and then try and expose Van Dijk through the middle with Jackson over the top. That's how I would do it. So, hello, Lucas, and Adam in the chat there. We haven't forgot about you, and if you want to ask any questions, etc., of myself and Dylan, mainly Dylan, because obviously he's the guest. So predictions we're going to come on to a little bit later, but keep your questions coming in. I will highlight them and pop them on the screen when we answer them. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to tomorrow. I'm relatively optimistic.
I'm 50-50. I'm on the fence because I go to the games quite a lot. You see, I tend to go into games with a 50-50 mindset now, purely because of the last 2 seasons I've seen as a Chelsea fan. I'm just like, I don't want to give the team too much expectation. I like going in with like just a fresh mind, see what happens. Because if I go in with a mind thinking, oh yeah, we're just gonna like absolutely annihilate people, we end up getting battered like 4 or 5-0. It just feels crap, doesn't it? So
it does, yeah. So we got a question from Adam. Biggest threat for both teams. I know most people on the face of it, particularly from our perspective, they would probably look at Salah. But I was looking at some stats, and he hasn't scored, I think, in the last 5 against us.
No, I think their biggest threat is Luis Diaz.
Yeah.
It's either Diaz or it's Jota. Jota's been playing
Jota's
well as
movement, he's been keeping Nunes out of the team. So, I mean, Jota's movement alongside Diaz and Salah, obviously. So that's the threat. I'm not really overly concerned where they can hurt us from their midfield. I think their midfield is relatively functional. Szoboszlai is a good player, but whether or not he starts in there tomorrow, I'm not sure. And obviously McAllister is, he's very good on the ball. But I think we've got enough. I mean, me personally, I don't know how you feel. I'd love to see Caicedo and Lavia start together. I know a lot of that will rile up a lot of Chelsea fans because there's a lot that love Enzo. And he obviously Enzo's great on the ball. But
see, I am an Enzo fan myself, but I can see, well, statistically, it's been proven that we have been winning more games with that pivot rather than Enzo playing. That's the stats are put out there. Apparently, it's factual, but I don't like to pinpoint players out specifically because of stupid stats like that. It's ridiculous. And plus, Enzo's our vice captain now, so like you've got to play him. He's a part of the team.
Yeah,
so
I think he will start.
And we've got 100 million price tag on him as well. It's not like he's not going to play. So
no. And I just, for me, I like the idea. I mean, I'd love the idea of the 3 of them, but I don't think we'll play systems that would have all 3, Lavia, Enzo, and Caicedo. I mean, that midfield would frighten many teams.
Yeah.
Lavia's awesome on the ball. I prefer it when Enzo, I don't know about you, but I prefer it when Enzo sits a little deeper and kind of plays that sort of quarterback role, and allows, the legs around him in Caicedo or whoever to do that engine work, that box to box work, and allow Enzo to dictate a game. I think if you can get Enzo on the ball and dictate a game, problems for whoever we play.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I do agree.
So got another question there from Lucas. How do we think we'll cope with Gravenberch? He's actually started really well this season for them, and obviously someone that Slot knows really well. He's a good player, but I would think we have enough in midfield to cope with him. I mean, the biggest fear that we've obviously got tomorrow is the fact that we have 2 of our key defenders out. So, but then that's why you have a squad, and they are, the other players coming in have got to step up. And to be fair, Tosin over the last few times he's played and come on, he's actually played really well. I think the last
the advantage to having a centre back like Tosin, because of his height, he's going to be very good for those aerial duels from corners and free kicks. So that is the advantage we've got with having Tosin.
And that has been a little bit of a weak point, particularly on set pieces as well. So that's
which is interesting because that seems to be quite our strong point this season with our set pieces. So
going forward,
vice versa, though. Vice versa.
It works out a strange way. In terms of like predicting a starting lineup, I mean, would you pair? Obviously, we're probably going to look at. I personally, I would start with Gusto as the right-sided fullback inverter, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, Maresca's already said that Reece has not got. He's not got the body. He's not got the body type to play 2 games a week at the moment, and he's just come back. Even though he's had a full week of training, let's just not force him out. Whatever we do, yeah.
And to be fair, I don't think, like I say, I don't think Gusto deserves to be dropped anyway. I love him. No. I love Malagusto. I think he's
I do as well. Yeah.
Right. So I think the team more or less will pick itself. Really, Tosin comes in, Vega comes in. I think we keep the rest as it is.
Yeah, there's no point in changing too much about it, to be honest. I mean,
Cole
I think
in the 10, Caicedo, Enzo, Noni on the right,
Sancho on the left.
I think so. I think I don't necessarily think it would make much difference whether it's Sancho or Neto.
No.
I would probably go with Sancho. I think he's probably shown enough form to keep him in there.
Problem is, they've both shown quality, but in different aspects, haven't they? Sancho showed it in the league, and Neto showed it in the Conference League. So it's like,
it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, no, it is. It's because they both deserve to start, which shows competition in the team. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know.
Seal. Okay, thanks, Tony. Right, so let's so we've touched on that. We know roughly what we're going to be looking at. So there's a player I want to talk about in particular. He's the Premier League player of the month, albeit in his latest Burberry advert he does look like Rodney Trotter. Someone pointed that out. He's a Spurs fan. I won't hold that against him, but he pointed that out on one of his posts on TikTok, and now I've seen it, I can't unsee it. It definitely looks like Rodney Trotter. But yeah, Cole Palmer, I mean, already, this season, phenomenal. The stats are incredible. I mean, since his it's like since he joined us, it's like 44 goal involvements or whatever it is. 28 goals, 16 assists. He's created 21 chances. I mean, he's up there now in terms of Premier League stats for the first 40-odd games. So his stats are up there matching the likes of Haaland, Andy Cole, Salah. And he's level on 16 assists with Saka.
Crazy stats, isn't it?
It's mad stats from a player who, that, Man City didn't want. Was deemed not good enough.
Still feel like we haven't paid City enough for Cole Palmer. I still feel like that's the case, but there you go.
Well, bearing in mind we sold Mount for 65.
Yeah.
I think that's a great bit of business, personally. And I'll tell you what, I'll go out on a limb. I think maybe Sancho will end up being just as good on the value as well. Because I think if we get, touching, imagine, Cole Palmer one side, Sancho the other side, mixing with Noni and all, homegrown players as well. That's phenomenal. But yeah, Cole Palmer, I mean, he just, for me, he just gets better and better. I love him, even if he is Rodney Trotter. So I did notice a few comments there. I will say this: I won't tolerate any nasty or negative comments popping up in the chat. So if I do see that, one, your comment are obviously going to get removed, and two, you're going to get banned. So don't bother. Whether you mean it as jokes or anything like that, just leave it all out. So, right. So let's get a prediction for tomorrow's game. From you. I'll start with you. And we'll see what you think.
I mean, it could either go one way or the other, really. I mean, both teams are on form. Both teams got new managers, getting used to they've got used to their new systems now for 7-8 games. So I don't know. I mean, if you look at the statistics from most of the visits we've had against Liverpool, most of them have been draws. And the way that both teams are playing, it screams another draw.
I mean, I was initially leaning towards a 2-2.
That's what I've been saying all week. That's what I've been thinking. Probably 2-2, 1-1, something like that. Yeah.
And but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful we can catch them. We can catch them a bit cold. You just never know with Liverpool. I mean, like especially at Anfield. Once if we can get a bit of momentum on them and the crowd gets turned on them, I do think that they'll feel the pressure of that. And they've not really been tested. So I mean, I was looking at the games, and the 6 games that they've won have all been against teams in the bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
So yet again, I mean, as much as it's a test for us, it's just as big a test for them. And it's worth pointing out, obviously, that they got turned over at Anfield by Forest as well.
Yeah,
and,
and
somehow
we managed to pull a point at Stamford Bridge, but I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a tough game regardless, anyway. So.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to stick to my guns on that. I'm going to say 2-2, and I don't necessarily think a point away at Anfield is such a bad result.
No,
it keeps us in touch of that, that top 4. I know it's early days in the table, but it's nice to still be up and around that sort of top 4 area. Obviously, a win would be incredible because that would throw us level on points with them at the top of the table. So
yeah,
I believe, I think it would. I think it would throw us up there, right up there with them, because we're on. Let me get the table up. We are on 14 points. So it would be a point behind them. So we'd be level with the City,
like
Arsenal.
6th or something at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
we've dropped down to 6th on 14 points. Brighton obviously have had a good day. Brighton are a really good side. It's incredible what we did. Well, if I tell you now, I'll put it out there. If Maresca doesn't work out, let's go and let's go raiding Brighton again and get hers.
Oh no! Oh no!
But yeah, looking at our fixtures beyond that, we've obviously got some really tough ones coming up. So like we said earlier, we're away at Panathinaikos in the Conference League. Yet again, it gives Maresca a chance to shuffle the pack and give some other players some minutes, etc. Get Felix on, get 90 minutes for Felix and Kunku, etc. And then we come back, obviously, Premier League at home on the 27th, day after my dad's birthday. Be a nice little birthday present if we can give him a win. Newcastle, and then again Newcastle in the cup, and then moving. I mean, it don't really get any easier. So moving into November. We're away to United, home to Noah, if that's how I presume that's how you pronounce it. I was trying to get tickets to that actually with my boy.
Then it's a home to Arsenal, isn't it? Big one.
Then it's Arsenal, and then Leicester. So it's the back end of obviously October, and then the whole of November is a really difficult period. And I think that's where we really find out who. Where we are in terms of our progression this season. If we can come through that and still be touching in and around the top 4, I'd be very, very happy going into the Christmas fixtures in December, being in that kind of position. So we've had another question from Lupus.
We got some difficult fixtures though as well in December, because obviously we got Tottenham away in December as well. So
yeah, I mean, we really do need to. I mean, I was watching a bit of their game earlier. They weren't particularly convincing. Obviously, they came out winners in the end, but West Ham were in that game for large parts. I don't think they've been particularly convincing at Tottenham Stadium this season. So, yet again, on the road, I quite fancy that. And I quite fancy us, obviously, against Southampton and all. You would think we'd be all right with that one.
Fulham at home game on Boxing Day. That'll be an interesting one, I think.
Yeah, and then obviously Brentford always been, since they've come into the Premier League, they've just been an absolute pain in our arse.
Yeah, is that at home, that one?
It's at home, yeah. Which is a really weird one because it's a 7:00 kickoff on a Sunday.
Yeah, I saw the fixture changes. When was this? It was like a week ago or something like that. They released these fixture changes. There was another one that they did for us. It was like away or at home at like 8:00 in the evening on a Monday or something like that. I'm like, what's going on with this?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Monday
it
the
was the
30th.
Wolves game, the Wolves home game. They put us on a Monday evening at 8 o'clock, like, and I don't even think it's being televised either.
No, no,
Yeah,
it's it's bizarre one. Right, let's put. It's an interesting question, but I don't. Who's a better manager, Slot or Maresca? I think you have to initially. You have to say probably have to say Slot because at the moment because he's probably had more managerial experience. Um, but let's not take away what Maresca achieved at Leicester. So I think you have to. I think we have to be
I
really
don't
really
know.
patient.
I don't think you can answer that really because
I think
if you
too
look
soon.
at the picture, right, we have got a manager that's come in who's replaced another manager who people probably should have said. Well, some people were saying, "Oh, he probably should have stayed." After the end of the season where it was working out very well. You know, Poch is an experienced manager. Some people were very split between it because obviously he was ex Spurs and whatnot. And
I mean,
then
me personally, I was in the Pochettino stay camp.
I was as well, but you know, then you look at how Maresca's been playing. It's like, oh, actually, maybe this was a blessing in disguise, in it really? Because if you look at the fixtures last season with Poch, there was a lot of results where we really should have picked up 3 points and we didn't
Yeah,
on the road. So um,
I mean,
you
majority of
could
the
have
goals that
argued that.
we've conceded this season, in particular, generally have come from individual errors, which is as an overall defensive unit, I think we've actually been pretty good. But it has been just individual, where it's Sanchez or or one of the defenders making an individual error. So in terms of that, I think we have progressed defensively. I think we're much calmer on the ball than we were last season. But yet again, it's difficult to judge it because like we touched on earlier, the amount of injuries that Pochettino had to contend with and having to change the team week in week out because of that.
Yeah.
So I think Maresca has benefited from not having those issues so far.
I don't take it away.
Touch wood.
Yeah, I don't take it away from Slot because he's had big shoes to fill with Klopp
Yeah,
leaving. So
massive.
it's
And generally, when we've seen when a manager, a big manager's left a club when they've been there a number of years, Ferguson, Wenger, the next man that comes in, generally it goes wrong and very quickly.
yeah,
He's inherited a pretty good squad, to be fair, and he hasn't had to change too much. And the style of play he's tweaked rather than try and make like wholesale changes. So he's kind of kept that level of continuity to build on what Klopp had, and then just start putting his mark on it. So they're not playing as much, say, counter-attacking football as they did under Klopp, hitting teams on the break really quick. It
yeah.
is a slightly more possession based. But then I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing from our perspective, because I do think when teams come at us with pace, I think we can get caught out a little bit, particularly when we have one of our fullbacks inverted in midfield, and if they get an overload. We saw it in early in the Wolves game, albeit we run out 6-2 wingers. There was points in that game where Gusto was inverting, and they was getting an overload with Aït-Nouri and Cunha on that left side of the pitch, our right.
Yeah.
And Fofana was getting exposed a little bit. But what I did like about what Maresca did is that he changed it and he tweaked it. He could see what was happening, and then he made the subs at half time and reacted to it straight away. Something that you would have seen Pep do down the years,
Mm.
with City, and it changed the whole game.
That's something he's done better than Poch did last season. Poch left his subs way
Too
too
late.
late. And with it being left too late, I felt like they were more gamble subs than him
Yeah,
actually having a game plan
yeah.
behind it.
I far prefer having a manager that's progressive with his tactics rather than being reactive. Because I
Yeah,
think if you're reactive, you're always behind the curve. It's an interesting question from Lucas. I'll let you answer this one.
go on.
So if we win tomorrow, are we in the title conversation?
No. I still say no purely because it's early doors. Let's be honest, all of us Chelsea fans know we're not going to win the league. Let's be honest. I mean, as
Yeah,
much as you can say, oh, we could be in a title race, maybe if we're in the same position come December, but realistically, I don't think we're going to win the league.
Yeah,
If
I
I'm being
think
totally honest.
I think it's too soon. I think, and
Yeah.
also this group of young players, I think people have to really keep that in mind. How this is the youngest squad in the Premier League by far,
Yeah.
and I think people
Plus,
have to really keep that in mind.
this is only our second game out of the top 6 that we've played, because we've played City. We haven't played any of the other top 6 yet. So
Yeah, this is it. I think, yeah, I think it is way too soon to be talking about titles. You know, come the back end of January, if we're in a position where we're a few points, then for me, it's not worry so much about titles or anything like that. It's consolidate being in the top 4 and get back into Champions League football. That for me is where we should be aiming. We need European football of some description next year, because we have to, realistically, we have to have the revenue coming in for that as well, for PSR reasons, etc. Champions League football would be amazing, but any kind of European football would be beneficial.
That's all I care about this season. I'm not even focused on the title. That's out of the equation for me. I just want to get back in the Champions League, and that is literally a great start for me.
And if we can make a cup final, really we should be looking at, even though we have left some players out of the Europa League squad, we should have enough. A club with a squad that we've got is not designed to be in that competition. That this is for teams that a lower level team. No disrespect to some of the other clubs in the competition, but one of our fixtures we've got is Shamrock. So this is a Premier League squad playing against, arguably
we should be winning the Conference League, but
we should.
Anything can happen with it, to be honest. I mean, not even Villa could win the Conference League, and look at where Villa are now. So
exactly, and I think if we can make a final, I'd love a Carabao Cup. Just something, if we can get any kind of trophy this season, just to give these young players a taste, a taste of what it feels like to be a winner. And then that then drives the hunger. That then gives them an insight. And, and we've seen it down the years with Mourinho, coming in, winning a League Cup and having that as a platform, as a springboard to then go on and say, look, this is what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Now here's where you need to go. And obviously, Maresca working under Pep was someone who prioritized doing stuff like that and getting a trophy in the cabinet. So I'd love to win the Conference League, because obviously we've won all the other European competitions.
Yeah,
that's the only one we haven't got, so we need that to complete the set as well. So we need, I'll be happy if we win that. But yeah, for me, a good season would be European qualification, ideally Champions League, but as a sub prize, I'll take the Europa League, and just play some good football, and be in the conversation again. It's nice to have our club in the conversation again about being up in. We've had to suffer for a couple of years, and we've both grown up, and albeit me, I'm a little bit older, but we've both grown up in an era where we've been consistently winning stuff and always in the conversation about trophies. It's taken our owners a bit of a while to get there. They're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I think the intentions are always very good, but hope look, it's positive. I think the direction we're going in from where we were 18 months ago or so, I think we're on a trajectory now which is consistently moving in the right direction. I don't know if that's how you feel.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like, there looks like there is progress based off of last season. Like, if you look at the point statistically how much we gained since the beginning of last season, it's like we've almost doubled the points. So there 100% is progression there. And the fact that we've got a full squad at this point in the season, which we didn't even have like even a whiff of last season, that's exciting as well, to see that players are coming back. And now we've got we could probably have like 2 or 3 squads now with like a full squad completely available. So
I mean, I know there'll probably be stories again in and around the January time being linked to, another number 9 and strikers. But part of me is actually quite glad that we didn't end up getting, the likes of Oshiman and all that, because I'm not quite sure where he would fit in terms of where the squad is going. I know that might sound mad to some people because he's borderline world-class striker, but with that kind of level of player, sometimes there comes that attitude and ego with that, and I'm not quite sure whether necessarily that would fit within this squad that we're building. There's very much you can already see. And one thing I think that has improved in terms of the squad is the morale. You can see that the players really, I'm always over the socials and watching the training stuff in the background and all that.
Yeah,
And you can really see that there's a real bond and a closeness between the players. I think that's something that was a little bit missing over the last few years as we started going through this sort of transition phase. But it feels to me that we have got a really good group of players in terms of the egos. I know we've had a few little flashpoints and with the Jackson thing with the penalties, and even the other day when he was messing about with the wall and getting involved and all that. But I don't necessarily mind that, because there's parts of him that remind me a little bit of Costa, the Costa, winding oppositions up.
I've had that with a few players in the squad this year. I mean, some people were saying that Disasi had shades of Rudiger last season with his attitude and the way he went about things. I mean, that hasn't worked out massively now with the way Disasi's gone down in the ranks for the squad. But it is exciting times then. Like we've got a pick of the gaff of who we want to start in games now, and Maresca's got a good idea of who he wants in his team. So
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I love Noni, and I just think he brings energy and freshness. Sometimes, not always the end product that you'd want, but I think he just scares people. He scares teams, and particularly if you play against teams with attacking fullbacks and that, they can't go marauding up the pitch as they maybe would do, because they know that he's just going to be out there hugging that right touch line. And obviously the link up between Mallow, Noni and Cole Palmer, there's just a real understanding, and we're starting to get that across the pitch now. We're starting to get understandings. Enzo and Caicedo in the middle, they're now starting to understand each other when one goes, one sits, and vice versa. So I like the relationships.
I still feel like there is a little bit of miscommunication sometimes, though, between Enzo and Caicedo, but obviously that comes with more time of them playing with each other and that. So,
and they both know that if they're not on their games, Lavia's just waiting, and we've already seen. Early part of the season, a bit of a glimpse into what Lavia is going to bring to the team, and that's a talent as well. So I love it. It's good. It's good. It's happy. It's nice. It's nice to be talking about Chelsea in a positive way.
Yeah,
we got to wait a while.
Yeah.
Right. So to finish off, I want to talk to you a little bit about Thomas Tuchel landing the England job.
Crazy, isn't it?
I mean, obviously there was a massive clamour for Pep, and I think that was pretty unrealistic, to be fair.
Yeah.
And the fact that England would have had to have waited until the end of the season to get him anyway.
There's been a lot of names that have been thrown into the hat. Yeah. I mean, even Klopp's name's been thrown in it, but everybody knows he's on like this temporary retirement from managing at the moment. So
I think he probably will be back at some point.
He will do, but I feel like his priorities will probably be higher than doing something like that. Like if he's to come back, I'm seeing him in a potential Barcelona or Real Madrid.
I wouldn't be surprised if they can squeeze another year out of Ancelotti.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if Klopp weren't in the frame for that.
That's where my thought process is with it. Is he waiting for just a big role like that?
Yeah,
for him to jump on. Yeah.
But in terms of Tuchel, I personally, I've seen a lot of rubbish been said and a lot of rubbish been written. I think it's a great appointment, personally, purely on statistics alone, because Thomas Tuchel's record in terms of progressing from semi-finals to finals and etc. and winning finals in terms of a cup competition manager, which is what we're talking about, really. Because realistically, we should walk qualify and be that Euros and World Cup qualifications. We should walk them, really, because with what you get paired against, that qualification should never really be an issue. But for me, England team needed someone who knows how to win, is capable of being strong-minded enough to be ruthless enough to upset people and put them out of the team if they're not playing how they should be. I think he'll do that, even if that was the likes of Kane.
He's got a good understanding of younger players as well, which he did have a bit of experience with as a Chelsea manager, especially in the early stages when he came after Lampard left, because everyone's forgetting as well, Lampard had to suffer with a transfer ban.
Yes.
So.
And TT came in, and took us to the Champions League.
Yeah,
some good young players.
He's got qualities of winning things that is there. So it's just a matter of, can he do it with an England team that's nearly there, and it's been proven nearly there now twice. So
yeah, we ain't far off it. I'd love to see England win something in my lifetime. You don't know. I'm 46 this year. I don't know how many tournaments I've got left. So it's all right for you youngsters. My dad went to. My dad saw England win in the World Cup, and I've had so many heartbreaks down the years of England.
Yeah.
And generally, I hate international football. It's watching these Nation League games has been the absolute.
I still don't understand the point of the Nations League. To be honest, I'm clueless on why.
You're better off just having the friendlies. I mean, these tier systems. We have to win this group that we're in to gain promotion back to the elite National League level group games. But
it's like they've inputted national football into some form of Super League, which is like what UEFA and that have been trying to do with the club football for the last few years. So it's like they've done that now with international football. It's so strange.
Yeah, I am not a fan. Just bring back a couple of friendlies for and if you want to do experiments and stuff like that, bring back the B internationals where you can bring some young kids through out of the 21s and stuff like that. But yeah, pointless. Nation League, pointless. International football, having tournament football, pointless. But I wish Thomas Tuchel all the best, and he still carries fond memories for me. His time at the Bridge, so I wish him all the best, and hopefully he can get England over the line. And and with quite a few Chelsea players, hopefully in the question. You never know. I mean, it might even be an opportunity for Sancho to get himself back in the reckoning if he gets keep the good form at Chelsea. There's certainly, he's still young. He's only 24. So
I still feel like there's a few people in that current England team that could probably be taken out and been swapped around for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think defensively, I think we're a little bit of a shambles. I like Gahey, I think he's someone who needs to start. I think there should be a partnership of Gahey and Colwill. Would be the bedrock of that. We've got a massive issue with the left back situation with England. I'd like to see maybe Tyreek Mitchell given an opportunity from Palace. I feel playing. I know Trent did all right there, but I don't like like a right-footed left back. It just feels like it unbalances any team, no matter who you are. When you have that situation,
it's like shoving Reece James in a left back role. It just kind of defeats the purpose of what he plays best at.
I can only actually think offhand of two players that actually did it really well. One being Dennis Irwin for Man United in those really successful years, and the other being Azpilicueta. The only really the two that I can really put my sort of head towards being outstanding at doing that job when they did it. But other than that, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I think if you've got young players, give them the opportunity. Give them the opportunity to play there and make a name for himself. So yeah. There we go, mate. Well, we've touched on the game. We've spoken about England. We're relatively hopeful for tomorrow. Try and get something out of Anfield.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll get you back on soon. definitely, hopefully, try and get you back on before Christmas, after we get through these fixtures and see where we are. And one of these days, if I'm not working, because every time we play, I seem to be bloody working, I might even see you at the bridge.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. It would be good to catch up at the bridge for sure.
It would be brilliant, mate. And we could even do some, like, bit of roving reportering and whatnot, and I'll come and interview you guys. I mean, there's so many of like the Chelsea accounts that I follow, Talking Chelsea, Two Blues and whatnot, yourself.
They're better at the TikTok content than me, mate. I'm not very consistent at TikTok, to be fair. I'm more consistent on my Instagram page than anything. So
it's so difficult to keep up with it. I mean, I've not put an episode out since we did the second episode, which was like about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we've had a close family member in the hospital. So like the focus has had to be away from doing anything other. But thankfully things have gone in the right direction. So I've been able to get back here and do a bit on the pod and get an episode out, which needed to happen, and it's brilliant, obviously, that it's Chelsea. But yeah, so anyone that is watching this anyway, if you do want to come on and talk, if you're another Chelsea fan, you can even come on and speak. You can get as many of you on the screen as we can fit and come and talk with Dylan and others, and we can, one thing I did want to do, and I don't know if you'd be interested in this, I'll put you on the spot, but an all London pod. So if we can get, like, obviously me and you with Chelsea, and if we can get a couple of like Spurs fans, Arsenal fans, West Ham fans, Palace fans, and then all of us on the screen having a bit of banter and a bit of a wind up, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Especially the old 3-point lane talk. And the fact that we're still the only club in London to win the Champions League. So there we go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right, so that's been season 5, episode 3 with Dylan. And don't forget, you can see his name there on the screen. So don't forget to go and give him a follow on his socials and keep up with all the Chelsea content and Chelsea news through Dylan as well. He's literally at every game. I don't think I've never seen him at a game, home and away. So he lives and breathes the club.
Try my best, so
yeah, cheers Adam, appreciate that, mate. And I know you're going to sort out the thumbnails at the end for me, because I'm useless when it comes to all that. So yes, thank you to everyone that's watched. Thank you for everyone that's dropped comments and questions in the chat. Don't forget to you can see it going across the screen there. Follow that on the link tree. You can get to every part of the pod to get involved. If you are here and you haven't dropped a sub, please drop a sub. I'm trying to get to 100 subs on the YouTube, which would be lovely. I want to do that before Christmas, hopefully. But yes, you want to come on the show, then just drop me a message and you can come on and talk football on the Talk Football podcast. So from me, your host Hodgie, goodbye. And from Dylan, thank you, mate, for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
Appreciated. And we'll see you again soon on the next show.
See you soon.
Hey. There we go.